This thing got tuned twice. The biggest difference between the new setup and the old setup. I was honestly scared to drive it on the street. With the retune on E85, the car maxed out at 3. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the EVO and doing a mini review on the new turbo setup. Alright guys, so the time has finally come where I can make a video on the new turbo setup on the EVO and actually go for a drive. So I've actually had the car back for a long time, ever since I made that last video where I went through all of the parts and the breakdown of the build. So that was actually a long time ago. I think I ended that last video where I dropped it off to ERS, where the boys did all of the work. Jimmy and Yasin there, they took care of me, they installed all the parts. Unfortunately, I didn't get much footage of the actual installation process. I mean, during that week, I had to still go to work. So I did get a few clips, so I'll cut those in. But besides that, it was about a week or two drive in, drive out service. But let's do a little recap of the parts that I used, because it has been such a long time that even I kind of forgot. So let's kind of go through this methodically and see if I can remember what we did. So starting on here, we did do cam gears. So HKS cam gears. We did HKS 274, 278 drop-in cams. We did titanium Kelford springs and retainers and ARP L19 head studs. So that was pretty much the headwork done to the car. For the exhaust and turbo, we have the Artec stock replacement exhaust manifold. So if you guys don't know Artec, they're an Australian company. Cast stainless manifold. This is the EVO 4G63 stock replacement. So this is for stock frame turbos. We have this going into the HKS GT3 turbo. That goes into the Artec 3.5-inch dump pipe. This is hands down, no arguments, the best dump pipe for stock frame EVOs. So from the dump pipe, we went into a Hooker Fab 3.5-inch front pipe. I didn't get to show that on the previous video, but we got that installed at ERS as well. So the Hooker Fab 3.5-inch front pipe, that went back into my original 3-inch catback. So it is 3.5-inch on front going to 3-inch at the back. That shouldn't really limit flow much for my power level. That was the exhaust. What else? The intake we kept the same as before. So I was just running a HKS racing suction aluminium intake. Cooler, we did do cooler. So we now have a Plasma Man Pro Series intercooler in the front. So this was a very nice upgrade. Cooler piping is the same, except for the hot side. We went with the Plasma Man hot side pipe, and upper intercooler pipe is still stock, and I'm still keeping the HKS blow-off valve. So for intake manifold, if you remember in the previous video, I did show off a Skunk 2 intake manifold, but after speaking with the boys at ERS, Jimmy and Yas, they didn't convince me, but they recommended that I stick with the stock intake manifold. Going to the Skunk 2, it would have been better, but the cost-benefit trade-off kind of wouldn't really be worth it. So I ended up selling off that Skunk 2 intake manifold. We kept with the stock one. Injectors, we did upgrade to some Bosch 1250s, capable of running E85. So the original plan was to go with a brand new factory fuel hanger and install a Walbro 350. So the Walbro 350 with the 1250cc injectors should have been more than enough for my application, but we did see some issues on the dyno. So this thing got tuned twice. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any videos of when the car was on the dyno because I was at work. So the initial tune that was done on this car, the car made 300 kilowatt on the dot on E85. So this was kind of just about where I was expecting for the setup for the turbo, but it was a little bit lower, like ideally. So we did speak to the tuner, and the tuner did mention that he was seeing some issues with fuel pressure. So like I mentioned before, with the fuel system, all we did was the 1250cc injectors, the new fuel filter in the back with the Walbro 350. So after I mentioned the issues with fuel pressure, I kind of didn't want to muck around anymore. So we just went with the full radium kit on this car. So the car is now rocking the radium in-tank twin pump hanger. We've got the radium plumbing kit with the new feed and return line. Well, you reuse the return line, but the new feed line, the fuel filter kit. It has the radium fuel rail now with the fuel pressure reg and gauge as well. So No issues after that when we put all that in with fuel pressure. The car got retuned. So with the retune on E85, the car maxed out at 320 kilowatts. So this was more in line with what I was expecting. So 320 kilowatt on E85 at about 30 pounds, 30 psi, and on 98. So it wasn't a dual map tune. On 98, it made about 240 kilowatt, and I think it was about at 23 pound. So 320 kilowatt E85, 240 kilowatt on 98 pump fuel. I'm pretty stoked with those results. But yeah, the car's done. The car's all finished. It's been like this for over a year now. So from the time I made that last video where I dropped it off at ERS, it has been over a year. I haven't really had time to make videos in between, but you did see the latest video where we moved into this new place with the big garage space. But finally, I've got some time when I can make this video where we can take this thing out for a drive and see what it's like. Because honestly, it's been a while since I've driven this thing as well. But yeah, this thing also needs fuel. So let's go get some fuel and I can give you guys some impressions of what I think of the new setup. All right, guys, so it's actually been a while since I've been inside this thing, but let's go get some fuel. So currently, you see we're on low fuel. So I actually just ran a tank of 98 through this thing. So I got spooked watching videos online of people gunking up their fuel system by leaving E85 sitting in there for a long time. So I got spooked. So they said you should run some 98 through the tank. So I ran some 98 through. The light's back on now, so perfect time to fill it back up with some E85. So let's go do that and then I can give some impressions. $100 for a tank of E85. It's not too bad. At least the E85 price doesn't change that much. It's still like $2.20 a litre. 98's gone up like crazy, but at least E85's okay. Alright guys, so we just filled up with some E85. We need to switch the maps because this is still on the stock ECU. I'm not running an aftermarket ECU yet, but we are on a dual map tune on the stock ECU. So previously I was on the 98 map. We need to switch over to the E85 map. So usually what most EVO people do is they map this button here, the intercooler spray button, to the switching of the ECU maps. But I actually wired this up to the Verax muffler, the Verax exhaust, so that controls the valve. So we had to use an alternate way to switch between the E85 and 98 maps. So the way you do it on my car and a lot of cars nowadays is you turn the ignition to reds and you hold down the accelerator pedal until you hear it switch over. So yeah, now you can see the little intercooler spray icon is flashing. That means we're on the E85 map. We're good to go. Now we also do need to change the boost settings over to high boost. So my boost is still controlled with the HKS EVC3 right here. So mode A here is just gate pressure. So that's what I use for pump fuel 98. B is low boost E85 and C is high boost E85. So that's 30 pounds E85. So we'll change over to C, lock that in, and then we are good to go. Alright, so let's see if I can go find some back roads where I can really stretch its legs out and kind of see what it can do. Because honestly, it's been a long while since I drove the car as well, so kind of have forgotten how it feels to drive it. Like these days I'm just busy with work. I don't really get to take it out much. I know I'm just making excuses. If I really want to drive it, I could just go out and drive it, but just haven't been able to find that motivation and time lately. But yeah, this gives us a good opportunity to kind of go through what the car was previous to the upgrade. So prior to this, I had full bolt-ons. It was stock 8MR turbo. I had a Walbro 255 fuel pump. We had a Puzzleman hot side pipe, and we had the Tomei V2 dump and front pipe going to a 3-inch catback, the same one that I have right now. So On that, tuned on 98, it was making 220 kilowatts, which is honestly really great power, really great results. So I was happy driving around like that. I was really happy with that power. Did a lot of track days with that power. I drove the car like that for about 5.5 years, almost 6 years, honestly, drove the car like that. That was all until I found a deal on a HKS turbo, the 7460R. So I found a deal on that turbo for pretty good. So that's what really spurred this upgrade. Because honestly, I was kind of fine with 220 kilowatt, but now with it up to 320, an extra 100 kilowatt, the car is a lot different. We found a little back road here. Let's try to give it a little squirt to see how it goes. That never gets old. Okay, I remember why I still have this car. I remember why I haven't sold this thing yet. All right, so my first impressions on the biggest difference between the new setup and the old setup. So honestly, one of the first things I noticed when I picked up the car with the new setup was the sound. So the car sounds a lot more aggressive. It sounds angrier. Like prior to the upgrade, the car sounded good, but it didn't sound that good to me. You know, like 4Gs are awesome engines, but with the way I had it before, it didn't sound the best. Honestly, all my friends with like Subarus and Toyota 86s, honestly, I thought their cars sounded better than mine, but ever since the upgrade happens, man, the car sounds way better. It sounds way... The best word I can describe... The best way I can describe it is it just sounds angrier. It sounds way angrier. It sounds appropriate for an EVO, you know? So I think that's down to the RTEC manifold, honestly. I think that makes a big difference, and the 3.5-inch front pipe and dump pipe. So yeah, the sound was one of the first things that I really noticed, but yeah, the power obviously is the big thing. Going from 220 to 320 kilowatt is a big jump, and yeah, it is super noticeable. And really, I think this is the comfortable level where, this is kind of where before things start to break, you know, before your gearbox starts to break, before your transfer case starts to break, before clutches start going. So yeah, I'm more than happy with the power now. I don't really have an urge to go anymore. I just want to enjoy the car like it is right now for a while, because yeah, I haven't driven it much as is. I haven't driven it much since I've gotten it back with the new setup, so. So good, so good. I remember the first day I got it back, the first night I took it home, the jump in power was huge to me. Like I was so used to 220, going to 320, the jump was drastic. So like I was almost afraid to drive it on the street. I know it sounds crazy, like 320 kilowatt is not that much by today's standards, especially for an EVO as well, but I was honestly scared to drive it on the street like for that week because I wasn't used to it. But yeah, I'm very used to the power now, you know, it doesn't feel that crazy. Boost comes on real smooth as well, it comes on early. So full boost hits at about 4,000 to 4,500 RPM, holds, and it kind of, the turbo does fall off a bit up top, but yeah, I'm super happy with it, the HKS GT3 turbo. It's not the most popular option, not too many people run it, but I'm more than happy with it. And honestly, I'm just, as you guys know, a HKS fanboy, so if it's HKS, I'm gonna put it on the car. So that has been the EVO post-turbo upgrade. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys would have done anything differently. But yeah, I'm very happy with where the car sits as of right now. So long-term goals for the car is probably just drive it more, honestly. Probably take it to a couple track days, kind of test, see what this thing is capable of. Short-term goals, there's a couple maintenance things that I do want to take care of with the car. So the radiator, the kind of cooling system is looking a bit old. So I do want to replace that along with all of the old hoses. My gearbox, so fourth gear is kind of sticky, so I think my synchro is going, so it's still running the stock 6-speed, so I think my fourth gear synchro is on its way out. So whether I fix that or go with a 5-speed or something else is like another story. Cooling system, gearbox is definitely something to look at. Other than that, there is actually a couple of things that I did have lined up. So in the boot, I'll give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek. We have, hopefully, a box. We have some, we've got something coming up. So we've got that, we've got this over here. Just a little bit, just something, just I don't know, just a little something, for the next videos, all right? So we've got those two things. We've got, I've been collecting so many parts, it's been ages. So we've also got this, that to go in later, but that's all to come in the future. But yeah, that has been the EVO upgrade, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys would have done anything differently, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.